in terms of vengeance.
In other words, they do not construe hiddenness merely or primarily in terms of entities' relations to human beings.
Hey everyone, and welcome to TalkWord. This is the show where we dive deep into English words and phrases to really figure them out. And today, we're tackling a big one. It's a phrase you hear absolutely everywhere, but it can be a little tricky to use yourself. We're talking about in terms of. So, you see a sentence like this. You know what project is, you know success, you know profit. All simple words, right? But then you have in terms of wedged right in the middle. And you might be thinking, what is that actually doing? It can feel like a little puzzle, but trust me, we're going to solve it today. Okay, let's get right to the core of it. We're going to unlock what this phrase is all about. And here's the secret. It's basically a focusing tool. That's it. Once you see it that way, you'll be using it with so much more confidence. Now, of course, you could look it up in a dictionary and you'd find something like this, with regard to the particular aspect or subject specified. And yeah, that is 100% correct. But it's also a little stiff, kind of formal. It doesn't really help you figure out how to use it when you're just chatting with someone. So let's find a better way to think about it. Here it is. This is the key. Just imagine that the phrase in terms of is a spotlight that you're holding. You've got this big general topic, right? And this phrase lets you shine a super bright light on one, and only one, specific part of it. It's like you're telling your listener, hey, forget everything else for a second. Pay attention to this one detail right here. Let's see that spotlight in action, because this makes it super clear. Imagine you say, the movie was good. Well, okay, but what does that mean? Good how? The acting? The story? It's really vague. But now listen to this. The movie was good in terms of its visual effects. Boom! You've just aimed that spotlight. Now we know exactly what you liked. Maybe the story was a total mess, but man, those visual effects were incredible. It just adds so much precision. All right, so you've got the main idea. It's a spotlight. Now let's go out into the wild and see how this thing is actually used in real everyday life, because that's what really matters, right? Here's a perfect example you might hear at work. Notice how it gets used twice here, which is really powerful. First, you shine the spotlight on speed. Is it an improvement? Yep, it's way faster. Great. Then you pivot and shine the spotlight on something else, user-friendliness. And nope, not so great in that one area. It's such a clear and really efficient way to give a balanced opinion on something. And it's not just for work, of course. You use this all the time in your personal life. Someone asks about your new place. Is the apartment perfect? Well, probably not. But if you shine that spotlight just on the location, you can say it's a great apartment in terms of location. This lets you praise one specific part while still being honest that, hey, the rent is another story. And here's the best part. That spotlight can point at pretty much anything you can imagine. You can talk about a phone in terms of price, a restaurant in terms of quality, a video game in terms of difficulty. You could even discuss a movie in terms of historical accuracy. The possibilities are just endless. So you get it now, right? But how do you go from just understanding it to actually using it without thinking twice? Well, the good news is there is a dead simple formula you can use every single time. It's really just 3 easy steps. First, start with your main opinion. Something like, the car is a good choice. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, just add our magic phrase, in terms of. And finally, step 3, you aim your spotlight. State your specific focus, safety features. Put it all together, and what do you get? The car is a good choice in terms of safety features. Simple, clear, and sounds perfectly natural. All right, you've seen the definition, you get the whole spotlight idea, and now you have the formula. So what's next? It's your turn. Time to put this into practice with a quick little challenge. So let's get a little meta for a second. Think about this explainer you're watching right now. How would you describe it in terms of its usefulness? Or what about in terms of its clarity? Go on, just try to form a sentence in your head. It's seriously the best way to make this new skill stick. And that's really all there is to it. In terms of is just your verbal spotlight. It helps you zoom in and focus your conversation on one specific detail. And hey, if you had fun with this and want to keep digging into English, you should definitely check out the TalkWord mobile app. You can actually create your own little word explainers with our 2 friendly AI hosts. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.
Anyway, in terms of protocol, isn't it my right, as your husband, to sit next to the most senior female there?
What's in store for us today in terms of the weather?
A hugely important 5 minutes here in terms of the career trajectory for both of these flyweight hopefuls, Jennifer Maia and Casey O'Neill.